were putting our country, in many cases, last. We were more worried about the world than we were worried about the United States. That's not going to happen with me.
Well, you know, to your point, many people are surprised to think that they should be similar, right? We look at it and we say to ourselves, JFK, the youngest guy elected president, Trump, the oldest.
Right.
My fellow Americans, ask not what your country can do for you. Ask what you can do for your country.
JFK, a Democrat, Trump, a Republican.
I might have pointed it out. But they never denied. Did anybody ever deny that it was the father? They're not saying, oh, that wasn't really my father. It's a little hard to do, because it looked like him. So here's the story. The press takes that and they say, Donald Trump and his conspiracy theories, he went out and said his father was with Lee Harvey Oswald and he assassinated the president.
But when you dig a little bit underneath the surface, there are some pretty notable similarities.
This is such an interesting story. The National Archives releasing some, though not all, of the long secret files relating to the 1963 assassination of President JFK. President Trump blocked the release of nearly 300 records on the urging of the CIA and the FBI. Those files are going to be under review for another 6 months. Those that were released described how federal agents madly chased after tips, after rumors and leads worldwide. But the fact that some were held back, well, you know, it's fueling a whole lot more speculation. And by the way, they were held back because of national security concerns. What does that mean?
So this had nothing to do with me, except I might have pointed it out, but it had nothing to do with me. I have no control over anything.
One, they both used media in surprising ways. JFK used the new medium, television, to speak directly to the American people in a way never before done. Of course, Trump used social media, and specifically Twitter, to speak to the American people in a way never before done.
This is the Resolute Desk, very famous. This is where John at the time, right? John Kennedy was right here. That's a little door that opens up.
Right.
And that was a famous picture. I could show you that picture. In fact, I'll give it to you. But this is a very important desk. FDR, John Kennedy. You know, we have 7 desks. And as president, you can choose any one of the desks. This is, to me, I think the most beautiful in terms of its carving. I also think, in many respects, it's, you know, just some people that I respect.
They're both disruptors, and I think that's critically important. JFK viewed his predecessor, Eisenhower, as being slow-moving and behind the times in foreign policy. Trump, the same. He views Obama as slow-moving and behind the times.
And yet he was the younger guy, right?
Exactly.
They are, maybe they're not. I don't believe that. I don't, and you know, could be, and which is, if that's the way it goes, that's the way it goes. You know, I go with the way we have to go.
It's the ominous granite tombstone reading Trump, Donald J., with his birth date, 1946, and a blank date of death. The nasty epitaph, "Made America Hate Again." Here's Stephen Fabian.
This is the spot in New York's famed Central Park where the Trump tombstone appeared out of nowhere on Easter Sunday back in March. The image was seen around the world, an in-your-face blast at the controversial presidential candidate. The Secret Service even opened an investigation viewing it as a possible threat to Trump's life.
So the opposite of that. Do you think, Jonathan, that a lot has been put on, the pressure's been put on Donald Trump because critics have said, you're not a real Republican, you're not a conservative. People later said the same about JFK. Wait a minute, you're espousing these big old tax cuts. That's not what liberals do. So they were much more pragmatic in their approach to the job.
And he was frustrated by Congress. Even though the Democrats dominated Congress, he had a tough time making progress. And so he took action where he could, which was in foreign affairs. And that very forceful action led to the Bay of Pigs, which was a disaster. He had a summit with Khrushchev not that many weeks later. That was a disaster. That disastrous
Some
summit.
people say it set up the Cuban Missile Crisis.
It set up the Berlin Wall. The Soviets erected the Berlin Wall not many weeks later, and Kennedy did nothing. And then, of course, it was the setup to the Cuban Missile Crisis. And so, therefore, we have to be worried about the tweeting, and particularly so because, like Kennedy, Trump has surrounded himself with some notable advisors inexperienced in foreign affairs. And some of Trump's tweets have been national security related. So I think we have to draw those parallels, in particular between McNamara and Tillerson, and raise the question, do we have all the experience we need in foreign affairs?
Yeah.
I'm very happy with my cabinet, other than, you know, a couple of exceptions, and even there I'm not unhappy. And I will tell you that it's so wrong. The reporting about me is so wrong. I'm loving what I'm doing. I did well in France. I did have a problem where I wasn't able to go to a cemetery because the Secret Service would not let me do it.
We'll get into all of this, sir.
No, but I'm just telling you, the Secret Service would not let me do it, and they made it a big deal. Do it.
We'll get into all of this, sir.
No, but I'm just telling you, the Secret Service would not let me do it, and they made it a big deal.
وله ذرية ضعفاء فأصابها إعصار فيه نار فاحترقت كذلك يبين الله لكم الآيات لعلكم تتفكرون